Every spring it feels like the same exhausting cycle. You head to the nursery, spend money on seedlings, carefully plant them, water them, and watch them grow for a few short months. By autumn, they are gone. Next spring, you repeat the process. More money, more effort, the same story again and again. And if bending over raised beds, kneeling on hard paving, or hauling heavy compost bags is starting to wear down your body, I want you to hear something important. This is not your fault. It's not a you problem. It's a plant problem. Because most gardeners are stuck with annuals, plants that live for one season and then die. But there's another category of plants that work completely differently. You plant them once, and they return every year on their own. They produce real food from the same simple container, on the same balcony or patio, without digging, without heavy lifting, and without spending another dollar on replacements. And here's the best part. I've narrowed it down to 7 container plants that do exactly this. By the end of this video, you'll know which ones to start with, and I've saved the most surprising one for last. Honestly, it's the plant that completely changed how I think about what a container garden can become. Stay with me. Hey there, garden friend. Welcome back to Evergreen Urban Harvest. And if you've just found this channel for the very first time, you've honestly landed in one of the best places online for simple, practical container gardening that actually works in real life. No big yard required, no complicated setup, and absolutely no prior experience needed. Before we dive into the list, I want to share something most gardening videos never explain, because once you understand it, everything about how you spend your time and money in the garden changes. The difference between annual plants and perennial plants is huge. Annuals grow, produce, and die in a single season. That's why every spring you're back at the nursery, buying replacements. Perennials, on the other hand, return from the same roots year after year. Some even multiply and spread, giving you more plants for free instead of fewer. And here's the key. Every single plant on today's list is either a true perennial or a self-propagating plant that comes back without any help from you. Better yet, each one grows beautifully in a container. That combination, permanent, productive, and container-friendly, is exactly what we're looking for. So if that sounds like the kind of gardening you want more of, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Every single week, I share honest, practical guides to help your container garden produce more food with less work and less money. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with one that might surprise you, because chances are you've already grown it before. Chives. Most people think of them as just a garnish herb, but in a container garden, chives are so much more. They're one of the most forgiving perennial plants you can grow, and once you understand how they behave, you'll never look at them the same way again. Chives thrive in even the smallest pots. A 4-inch container is enough to keep them happy, and they'll tolerate heat, cold, neglect, and direct sun without complaint. Every spring, they push back up from the same root clump, stronger and thicker than the year before. That means you don't replant, you don't replace. They simply return, season after season. Here's the part most gardeners overlook. Every 2 to 3 years, the clump grows so large you can divide it. Pull it apart into 2 or 3 sections, pot each one separately, and suddenly you've multiplied your harvest for free. From a plant you may have bought for just a couple of dollars, you now have multiple containers producing endlessly. And don't cut off those purple flowers in late spring. They're edible, with a mild onion flavor, and they attract pollinators to your other plants. Let a few go to seed, and your pot will reseed itself with baby chives, no effort required. Science makes them even more special. Organosulfur compounds in the roots concentrate over winter, surging back into spring growth. That's why first-of-season chives taste sharper and more potent than anything from the supermarket. At $2 to $3 a bunch in stores, the savings are nice, but the real value is permanence. Chives become a fixture in your container garden. Always there, always producing, never asking much in return. At number 6, we have lemon balm. And I want to pause here because this plant is more than just another herb. For me, lemon balm was the one that made medicinal plants feel real, not just folklore. A couple of fresh leaves and hot water with a spoon of honey, and you've got a calming tea that genuinely takes the edge off at the end of the day. The secret is rosmarinic acid, a natural polyphenol found in lemon balm. Studies show it reduces the body's cortisol response, which means lower stress and better sleep quality. You're not just growing a fragrant herb, you're growing something that can measurably improve your well-being. Now here's the twist. Lemon balm actually belongs in a container. In open ground, it spreads aggressively, sending runners everywhere until it takes over your garden. But in a pot, the roots stay focused, producing denser, more aromatic growth. The container isn't a limitation, it's the perfect home. Care is simple. Give it a 1 to 2 gallon pot, partial shade if your summers are hot, and water when the soil feels dry. That's it. Every spring, it comes back from the root crown, stronger than before. And if you let a few of its tiny white flowers go to seed, you'll notice something delightful. Lemon balm will quietly reseed itself into nearby containers. One plant becomes several without you lifting a finger. Free plants, delivered by the plant itself, year after year. For a container gardener, lemon balm is the definition of effortless abundance. Calming tea, fragrant leaves, and a self-sustaining cycle that keeps giving long after you've planted it once. Number 5 is mint, and this plant completely flips the usual container gardening story. Most guides say, grow mint in a pot so it doesn't take over your garden. And while that's technically true, it makes the container sound like a restriction. The reality is much better. Mint actually thrives because of the container. In open ground, mint spends its energy sending long underground runners, searching for new territory. That spreading habit is why it takes over beds, but it also makes the plant thin and scraggly. Put mint in a container, and all that energy stays focused in one place. The result is a denser, more aromatic, more productive plant. The pot doesn't limit mint, it perfects it. Here's the science that makes mint fascinating. Menthol, the compound responsible for its cooling sensation and fragrance, is produced in tiny glands on the leaf surface as a natural insect deterrent. And here's the part most people never realize. The more you harvest mint, the more menthol the plant produces to replace what's lost. Cutting it back actually triggers stronger, more fragrant regrowth. So don't be shy with your scissors. Trim mint down to about 4 inches once a month during the growing season, and it will bounce back thicker and more aromatic than before. It even tolerates real shade, the kind that kills most herbs, making it perfect for north-facing balconies or dim corners. And as a perennial, mint disappears underground in winter and returns reliably every spring. One container, planted once, gives you endless harvests of tea, garnish, and flavor year after year. Mint isn't just suited to containers, it was meant for them. At number 4, we have sorrel, and this is one of those plants that most container gardeners have never even tried. That's a shame, because sorrel is one of the most useful greens you can grow in a small space. Sorrel is a true perennial. It comes back every single year from the same root system, often producing edible leaves in very early spring, weeks before most other greens are ready. That means you're harvesting fresh food at a time when grocery store greens are at their most expensive. And the best part? Sorrel grows beautifully in shallow containers. A wide window box or even a large salad bowl is enough, because its roots don't go deep. The flavor is unforgettable. Sorrel tastes bright and sharp, almost like a salad green with a natural squeeze of lemon built in. That tang comes from oxalic acid, the same compound found in spinach, but at higher concentrations. Young leaves harvested early in the season have lower oxalic acid levels, giving them a milder, delicate flavor. As the plant matures, the concentration rises, and the taste becomes bolder and more citrusy. That chemistry gives you built-in control in the kitchen. Harvest young leaves for fresh salads, or let them mature for soups and sauces where you want depth and sharpness. And because sorrel is a cut-and-come-again plant, You harvest the outer leaves while leaving the center intact. The plant keeps producing, giving you multiple harvests from the same roots year after year. For container gardeners, sorrel is a hidden gem, easy to grow, endlessly productive, and a flavor that makes every dish brighter. At number 3, we have strawberries, and this one surprises most gardeners. Almost everyone has tried growing them, but almost everyone treats them as annuals, buying fresh plants from the nursery every spring. Nurseries encourage that cycle because it sells more plants, but the truth is simple: strawberries are perennials. The same plant will return year after year if you let it. Here's what makes them especially perfect for containers. Strawberries produce runners, long stems that arc out from the mother plant, each forming a complete baby plant at the tip. By late summer, one strawberry plant can send out 3 to 5 runners. Press those plantlets gently into a small pot of compost while they're still attached. Wait until new leaves appear, and then cut the runner free. Suddenly, your single plant has multiplied into several new ones, all for free. The crown, the central growing point where leaves emerge, is the key to healthy growth. It needs to sit right at soil level, not buried, not raised too high. That natural habit makes strawberries biologically suited to shallow containers. Their roots spread wide near the surface, so a pot positions the crown perfectly every time. And here's the ergonomic bonus. Containers can be raised to table height, placed on stands, or hung from balcony rails. That means no bending, no kneeling, no back strain. Every berry harvested standing upright. With organic strawberries selling for $4 to $6 a small punnet, every ripe berry you pick from your own container tastes sweeter, fresher, and more valuable. Strawberries aren't just a treat. They're a perennial crop that belongs in your container garden. At number 2, we have one of the most unusual plants you'll ever see in a container, the Egyptian walking onion. The first time most people encounter it, they stop and ask, "Wait, is that actually real?" And yes, it is. Once you understand how this plant works, you'll never want your garden without it. Unlike regular onions, which grow underground and are harvested once before you need to replant, the walking onion has a completely different strategy. Instead of producing just a bulb below the soil, it grows clusters of small bulbils, miniature onions, right at the top of its stalk. As those bulbils grow heavier, the stalk bends under their weight, arches downward, and eventually touches the soil. When that happens, the bulbils plant themselves automatically. Next season's crop is already in place, without you lifting a finger. That's why it's called the walking onion. It literally moves itself around the garden, or right back into the same container year after year. This walking mechanism isn't random. It's a survival adaptation, evolved to help the plant relocate to fresh soil once nutrients are depleted. In a container, though, those bulbils fall right back into the same pot, turning one container into a permanent, self-perpetuating colony. And the harvest options are extraordinary. You can snip the green tops like scallions all season long. You can pick the bulbils at the top and use them whole in cooking, pickle them, or replant them. Or you can dig down and harvest the underground base bulb for a stronger, traditional onion flavor. 3 different harvests from one plant at the same time. Your local nursery probably won't carry it, but a quick online search will. And once you have it, you truly have it forever. Finally, at number 1, we have blueberries, and I want you to stay with me here, because this plant is one of the most counterintuitive and most rewarding things you can ever grow in a container. Most gardeners assume blueberries demand a large yard, specialized soil, and years of effort before producing fruit. And in the ground, that's true. But in a container, the story flips completely. Blueberries need acidic soil, ideally a pH between 4.5 and 5.5. Achieving that in open ground means constantly fighting your native soil with amendments and testing. In a container, though, you mix the soil exactly right once. Ericaceous compost, the blend made for blueberries, azaleas, and rhododendrons, gives you the perfect acidity from day one. And because it's a pot, you never have to fight your native soil again. You have permanent control over the one condition blueberries care about most. Compact varieties like Top Hat or Peach Sorbet stay under 3 feet tall, making them perfect for patios or balconies. They begin producing fruit within 2 to 3 years, and once established, a single container blueberry bush can keep producing for 20 to 50 years. That's not a typo. Decades of real fruit from one pot. And here's the part that still amazes me. The deep blue pigment in blueberries comes from anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants the plant produces to protect itself from UV radiation. As the bush matures, anthocyanin production increases. That means older, well-established plants literally produce more antioxidants per berry than younger ones. The plant doesn't just keep giving, it gets better with age. Every time I step onto the patio and see my blueberry bush, I think about that. Something growing quietly in a pot, asking for very little, and becoming more nourishing the longer you keep it. If there's one plant from this entire list I'd urge you to start with, it's this one. So there you have it, garden friend. 7 container plants that you plant once, and that keep feeding you year after year for the rest of your gardening life. Chives, the permanent herb that multiplies itself. Lemon balm, the calming tea that belongs in a pot. Mint, the one plant that thrives because of containers. Sorrel, the early spring green that brightens every dish. Strawberries, the perennial fruit most people never let reach its full potential. Egyptian walking onion, the plant that literally replants itself. And blueberries, the container fruit that only gets better with age. You don't need a big yard. You don't need to haul heavy compost every spring. You don't need to spend money on replacements year after year. What you need are the right plants, in the right containers, planted once, and then the simple pleasure of watching them return on their own. Pick even one plant from this list and get it into a container this week. I promise you, the first spring morning you step outside and see it growing back without any help, everything about how you think of your garden will change. If this video gave you even one useful idea, please hit that like button. It truly helps this channel. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now, because every week I share practical container gardening that works in real life. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 7 you're most excited to try. I read every single one. Thanks for watching today, garden friend. Now go grow something amazing, and I'll see you in the next video.